The collection notice arrived on a Tuesday morning, tucked between grocery store flyers and a birthday card from my aunt. I almost threw it away without opening it. Almost. But something about the bold red letters, "Final Notice," made me stop. I didn't have any outstanding debts. My credit cards were paid in full. My car loan had 2 years left, payments always on time. I tore open the envelope. "Dear Miss Sophia Martinez, this is your final notice regarding account number 8872-4521, opened in your name on March 15th, 2021. Current balance, $12,847.52. Failure to respond within 10 business days will result in legal action and wage garnishment." My stomach dropped. March 2021, I'd never opened a credit card account that month. I never even heard of this company, Premier Platinum Financial Services. I called immediately, spent 45 minutes on hold, listening to elevator music before a representative named Derek came on the line. "I need information about this account," I said, reading off the number. "I didn't open this." Keyboard clicks. A long pause. "According to our records, Miss Martinez, this account was opened at our San Diego branch. You provided a driver's license, social security number, and proof of residence. I live in Phoenix. I haven't been to San Diego in 3 years. More clicking. "The account shows multiple purchases: electronics, clothing, airline tickets. The billing address is listed as, let me see, 2847 Rosewood Avenue, Apartment 12, San Diego." I knew that address. My heart started pounding. That was my cousin Nina's apartment. The cousin I'd grown up with like a sister. The cousin who'd called me crying just 2 months ago, asking to borrow money for emergency dental work. The cousin I'd wired $3,000 to because family helps family. "I need copies of everything," I said, my voice shaking. "The application, the statements, all of it. We can email those within 24 hours. Ms. Martinez, if this is fraud, you'll need to file a police report." Police report. Against my own cousin. I hung up and stared at the letter in my hands. Then I pulled up my credit report on my laptop, something I should have been checking regularly but hadn't looked at in over a year. 7 accounts, 7 credit cards and loans I'd never opened, balances totaling $43,000. Every single one listed contact information that led back to Nina. I sat at my kitchen table as the morning sun slanted through the blinds, illuminating dust motes that floated like my whole understanding of reality, suspended, uncertain, about to come crashing down. Nina. My Nina. We'd shared beds during family vacations, traded clothes in high school, been each other's maid of honor at weddings that happened 6 months apart. She was the first person I called when my marriage fell apart, the one who drove 8 hours to help me move into my new apartment. And she'd been stealing my identity for over 2 years. The worst part? I had a terrible feeling I knew exactly why she'd done it, and the truth was going to destroy both of us. My name is Sophia Martinez. I'm 34 years old, and this is the story of how I discovered that the person closest to me had built an entire fake life using my name, and how confronting her revealed a family secret that changed everything we thought we knew about. Let me tell you about Nina and me. About who we were before I found those letters, before everything shattered. We weren't just cousins. We were more like sisters who happened to have different mothers. Our mothers, my mom Elena and her sister Rosa, were born 18 months apart in Guadalajara, Mexico. They came to the United States together when they were teenagers, shared a bedroom in a tiny apartment in East Phoenix, worked side by side at a bakery while putting themselves through night school. When they both got married and had daughters within a year of each other, they stayed close. We lived 4 blocks apart. Nina and I grew up in each other's houses, at each other's birthday parties, sleeping over so often that both families kept duplicate sets of our clothes and toothbrushes. My earliest memories include Nina building blanket forts, learning to ride bikes together, getting matching braids for Easter. She was funny, fearless, and wildly creative, always drawing elaborate pictures, writing stories, making up games with complicated rules only she understood. I was the responsible one, the planner, the girl who did her homework on Friday so she could play all weekend. Nina did her homework Sunday night while copying half of mine, and somehow we both turned out fine. Our mothers loved that we were so close. Like us, they'd say, smiling. Sisters by choice, not just blood. Through middle school and high school, Nina and I were inseparable. We joined the same clubs, dated boys from the same friend group, applied to Arizona State University together. We talked about being roommates, about staying best friends forever, about raising our kids together someday. Then college happened, and things started to shift. I went into accounting, steady, practical, the kind of degree that led to stable jobs with benefits. Nina started in graphic design, then switched to marketing, then psychology, then dropped out halfway through junior year. "College isn't for me," she said, sitting on my dorm room bed while I studied for finals. "I'm not built for this. I need to be doing something real, not sitting in classrooms." "What will you do?" I asked. She shrugged. "Figure it out. Travel, work, live. You know, actually experience life instead of preparing for it." I wanted to understand, but I didn't. To me, preparation was life. You planned, you worked hard, you built something stable. Nina saw that as limiting. She saw freedom and spontaneity. Still, we stayed close. When I graduated and got my first job at a mid-size accounting firm, Nina was there, cheering louder than anyone. When she moved to California to find herself, I helped her pack. She bounced around for a few years. Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland. Every city was going to be the one where everything clicked. She worked as a barista, a yoga instructor, a social media manager for a startup that folded after 6 months. She was always optimistic, always convinced the next thing would work out. I worried about her, but she seemed happy. And whenever she came home for holidays, we'd fall back into our old rhythm, staying up late talking, sharing secrets, laughing until we couldn't breathe. When I got married at 28 to Daniel, a software engineer I'd met through work, Nina flew back to be my maid of honor. She gave a toast that made everyone cry, talking about how we'd promised as kids to always take care of each other. Sophia's the sister I chose, and that's worth more than any blood could ever be. 6 months later, I stood in her wedding as her maid of honor. She'd met Carlos in San Diego, a musician with a warm smile and big dreams. The wedding was small, bohemian, beautiful in its chaos. Very Nina. For a while, it seemed like she'd finally found stability. She and Carlos got a little apartment. She started freelancing as a graphic designer. He played gigs on weekends. They weren't rich, but they seemed content. Then, about 3 years ago, things started to unravel for her. Carlos left. Sudden, messy, painful. He'd met someone else, someone who understood his music better. Nina was devastated. I flew to San Diego to be with her, held her while she cried, helped her figure out how to afford the apartment on her own. "I'll be fine," she kept saying. "I always land on my feet." But this time felt different. The freelance work dried up. The gig economy wasn't as forgiving as she'd hoped. She started missing rent, relying on credit cards to cover basics, spiraling into debt she couldn't talk about without shame. She called me crying one night, about 6 months after Carlos left. "I'm drowning, Soph. I can't keep up. Every time I think I'm getting ahead, something else breaks." I said, "Come home. Move back to Phoenix. Stay with me until you get back on your feet. I can't run home to family every time life gets hard. I need to figure this out myself. I respected that. I sent her money when she asked. A few hundred here, 1,000 there. Emergency car repair, medical bills, security deposit for a cheaper place. I never questioned it. She was Nina, my sister in everything but name. Of course I'd help. What I didn't know was that while I was watering her money for emergencies, she was opening credit cards in my name, taking out loans, building a financial life that looked like mine on paper, but funded hers in reality. My own marriage was falling apart around the same time. Daniel and I had grown distant, wanting different things. I wanted kids. He didn't. I wanted roots. He wanted to move to Seattle for a job opportunity. We tried counseling, but some gaps are too wide to bridge. We separated amicably, divorced 6 months later. Nina called me every day during that time, talking me through the paperwork, the loneliness, the fear of starting over at 32. "You're going to be okay," she'd say. "You're the strongest person I know."
Meanwhile, she was using my social security number to apply for an apartment she couldn't afford on her own, using my credit to buy a laptop for her business, using my name to book plane tickets home for Christmas because she was too broke to afford them otherwise. I found all of this out later, much later, after the damage was done. For 2 years, Nina lived a double life. To me, she was my struggling cousin who needed help. To creditors, she was Sophia Martinez with excellent credit and a steady job. She'd call and we'd talk about her freelance projects, her new apartment, the guy she was dating. Normal cousin conversations. And I'd have no idea that the apartment was leased in my name, that the new laptop she mentioned was charged to a card with my information, that she was wearing clothes bought with my identity. Looking back now, there were signs I missed. Like when she asked to borrow my driver's license to prove residency for a gym membership when she visited Phoenix. I thought nothing of it. We looked alike, shared a last name before her marriage. I handed it over and she returned it the next day. Or when she called asking about my social security number for family paperwork Tia Rosso was filling out. I gave it to her over the phone, trusting completely. Or when she stayed at my apartment for a week and I came home to find my filing cabinet drawer slightly open. She said she'd been looking for a phone charger. I believed her. Each moment was small, forgettable, but together, they were the pieces she needed to become me. The money I sent her was real help, motivated by love. The money she stole was survival, motivated by desperation. I understand the difference now, but back then, I had no idea the two existed simultaneously. My mother always said, family is everything. You protect each other, you sacrifice for each other. That's what love looks like. I believed that. I lived that. Nina believed it too. But somewhere along the way, she twisted it into justification. If family sacrifices for each other, then wasn't she entitled to my credit? Wasn't my good name something she could borrow, just like money? The morning I got that first collection notice, I still believed we were sisters in the way that mattered most, bonded by choice, trust, and unconditional love. By the end of that day, I'd learned that love and trust aren't the same thing, and that sometimes the people we die for are the same ones slowly killing us. I spent the entire day after receiving that first collection notice glued to my laptop, requesting credit reports from all 3 bureaus, creating spreadsheets, documenting everything. The scope of it was staggering. Account 1, Premier Platinum Credit Card, opened March 2021, current balance $12,847. Account 2, Coastal Bank Personal Loan, opened June 2021, balance $8,200. Account 3, Summit Visa, opened August 2021, balance $6,730. Account 4, Liberty Finance Installment Loan, opened November 2021, balance $4,890. Account 5, Pacific Credit Union Card, opened February 2022, balance $3,920. Account 6, Horizon Bank Auto Loan, opened May 2022, balance $11,200. Account 7, Diamond Rewards MasterCard, opened September 2022, balance $5,156. Total $52,943. $52,000 borrowed, spent, and ignored, all in my name. I printed all of it, page after page, of transactions I'd never made, addresses I'd never lived at, phone numbers that weren't mine. Each one felt like a small betrayal compounding into something massive. Electronics, furniture, rent payments to landlords in San Diego, airline tickets, multiple trips between California and Phoenix that Nina had told me she couldn't afford, restaurant charges, clothing stores, a laptop, a camera, even medical bills. Apparently she'd used my insurance information. My hand shook as I highlighted each charge that coincided with a phone call where she'd asked me for money. June 2021. She borrowed $800 for car repairs, the same week she charged $1,200 in furniture to a credit card in my name. November 2022. She asked for $500 for groceries and utilities, while booking a $900 flight home for Thanksgiving on my fraudulent credit. She'd been double dipping, taking my real money and my identity. I called Derek back at Premier Platinum. I need to file a fraud claim. I need to freeze this account. My voice cracked. Ma'am, take a breath, he said gently. We'll walk through this. First, you need to file a police report. Then we'll send you fraud affidavits for each account. You'll need to dispute every charge. And the money, the debt. If you can prove it's fraud, the debt gets removed from your credit report, but the company will pursue the actual perpetrator. The actual perpetrator. My cousin. My sister. What if I stopped myself. What if I don't want to press charges? What if I just want this to go away? What if I can fix this without destroying her? But Derek's tone shifted, more serious. Miss Martinez, identity theft is a federal crime. If you want to clear your name, you have to cooperate with law enforcement. Otherwise, legally, this debt is yours. I thanked him and hung up. Then I did what I should have done immediately, but had been avoiding. I called Nina. It rang 4 times before she answered, breathless. Soph, hey, I was just thinking about you. How are you? Her voice was so normal, so warm, like we were just 2 cousins catching up. Nina, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. A pause. Okay, what's going on? You sound upset. Because I just pulled my credit report. There are 7 accounts I didn't open. All of them list contact information that leads back to you. That's insane. Someone must have hacked you. Or maybe it's a mistake. You know how messed up credit bureaus are.
Nina, stop. One of the addresses is your apartment. Your phone number is listed on 3 of them, and I have transaction records showing purchases in San Diego on dates when you told me you were broke. Another silence, longer this time. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller. Sophia, I can explain. My heart sank. I wanted her to deny it, to have some impossible explanation that made this all a misunderstanding. Then explain. Can we do this in person? I'll fly home this weekend. We'll sit down and I'll tell you everything. Please, don't do anything until we talk. Nina, there's $50,000 in debt.
I'm getting collection notices. My credit score has dropped over 100 points. I have to do something. I know, and I'm so sorry. God, Sophia, I'm so sorry. But please, just give me a chance to make this right. Don't call the police yet. Please. The desperation in her voice made my chest tight. This was Nina, my Nina, who'd held my hand during my divorce, who'd made me laugh when I thought I'd never smile again. I'm not promising anything, I said finally, but I'll wait until this weekend. And Nina, if you lie to me again, we're done forever. I won't, I swear. Thank you. Thank you, Sophia. She hung up and I sat there feeling sick. Part of me hoped she'd come clean, apologize, and somehow we'd fix this together. Another part of me already knew that wasn't possible. You don't steal someone's identity on accident. You don't rack up $50,000 in someone else's name without knowing exactly what you're doing. That night, my mom called. Just a routine check-in, asking about work, about whether I'd be at Sunday dinner. Yeah, I'll be there, I said, trying to sound normal. You sound tired, Mija. Everything okay? I almost told her, almost unloaded the whole terrible mess, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the knowledge that this would devastate her. She and Tia Rosa are so close. This would shatter that. Or maybe I was still protecting Nina, even now, even knowing what she'd done. I'm fine, Mama. Just work stress. When we hung up, I felt the weight of the secret settle on my shoulders. I was lying too now, to protect someone who hadn't protected me. Friday came. Nina texted she'd booked a flight, landing Saturday afternoon. Can I stay with you? I know it's a lot to ask, but hotels are expensive and I want to focus on us, not where I'm sleeping. The audacity made me almost laugh. She'd stolen $50,000 from me and was asking to save money on a hotel? I responded, fine, but we're talking the minute you get here. Saturday afternoon, I picked her up from the airport. She looked thinner than I remembered, dark circles under her eyes, her usual vibrant energy dimmed. She tried to hug me. I stepped back. Let's just get to my place, I said. The drive was silent. She stared out the window, picking at her cuticles the way she always did when she was anxious. When we got to my apartment, she set down her bag and turned to me. Sophia, before you say anything, I need you to know I never meant to hurt you. Then why did you? Tears spilled down her cheeks. Because I was desperate. Because I didn't know what else to do. Because my credit was destroyed after Carlos left and I couldn't get an apartment, couldn't get a loan, couldn't even get a phone plan. I was drowning and you were the only person I could turn to. So you turned to my social security number instead of asking for help? I did ask. You sent me money, but it was never enough. And I was too ashamed to tell you how bad it really was. I thought if I could just get on my feet, I'd pay everything back before you ever found out. You've been doing this for over 2 years. That's not a temporary fix. That's a choice you kept making. I know, and I'm so sorry. God, Sophia, I'm so sorry. But please, just give me a chance to make this right. Don't call the police yet, please. The desperation in her voice made my chest tight. This was Nina, my Nina, who'd held my hand during my divorce, who'd made me laugh when I thought I'd never smile again. I'm not promising anything, I said finally, but I'll wait until this weekend. And Nina, if you lie to me again, we're done forever. I won't, I swear. Thank you. Thank you, Sophia. She hung up and I sat there feeling sick. Part of me hoped she'd come clean, apologize, and somehow we'd fix this together. Another part of me already knew that wasn't possible. You don't steal someone's identity on accident. You don't rack up $50,000 in someone else's name without knowing exactly what you're doing. When I was ready to talk, call me. I'll do anything to fix this. Anything. After she left, I sat in the silence of my apartment and cried. For the cousin I thought I knew, for the trust that had been shattered, for the impossible choice I now had to make. That night, I made a list. Option 1, do nothing. Consequence, the debt stays in my name, my credit stays ruined, Nina faces no consequences. Option 2, file police reports and fraud claims. Consequence, Nina gets arrested, likely prosecuted, our family implodes, but my name gets cleared. Option 3, try to work it out privately. Consequence, Nina promises to pay, probably can't, and I'm still stuck with the debt while she avoids accountability. None of them were good. None of them gave me back what I'd lost. My trust, my sense of security, my relationship with the person I'd considered a sister. Sunday morning, my mother called. "Mija, Rosa told me Nina's in town. Are you two coming to dinner?" My throat tightened. "Actually, Mama, I need to talk to you. Can I come over early?" "Of course. What's wrong?" "I'll explain when I get there." It was time to tell the truth. Not just to my mother, but to the whole family. Because this secret was too big to carry alone, and whatever happened next, I was going to need support. I just didn't realize yet how deep this betrayal actually went, or that Nina's theft wasn't just about money. It was about a family secret that went back decades, one that explained everything and made the pain so much worse. I arrived at my parents' house, my mother's house, I should say. She lived there alone since the divorce from my father 5 years ago, just before noon. She was in the kitchen making chilaquiles, the Sunday ritual she'd maintained even when it was just her. "Sit, Mija," she gestured to the table. "Tell me what's wrong." I pulled out my folder of printed credit reports, statements, and fraud documentation, spread them across her kitchen table like evidence at a trial. Nina has been stealing my identity. For over 2 years, she's opened accounts in my name, racked up over $50,000 in debt, and destroyed my credit. My mother's face went white. She sank into the chair across from me, staring at the papers. "No," she whispered. "Nina wouldn't." "She admitted it, Mama. Yesterday. She's staying at Tia Rosa's right now." My mother's hand went to her mouth. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, "Does Rosa know?" "I don't think so. Nina told her she was just visiting." "Dios mío." My mother stood, paced to the sink, gripped the edge of the counter. When she turned back, there were tears in her eyes. "Sophia, there's something you need to know. Something we should have told you a long time ago." My stomach dropped. "What?" She sat back down, took my hands. "When your abuela, my mother, died 8 years ago, she left money. Not a lot, but enough to matter. About $60,000 split between Rosa and me." "Okay," I said slowly, not understanding. "Rosa and I agreed to use our portions to help our daughters. Rosa was going to give hers to Nina for a down payment on a house someday. I was going to give mine to you." "You did. You helped me with my divorce lawyer fees and the deposit on this apartment. I remember." "Yes," my mother's voice cracked. "But Nina never got hers." I froze. "What do you mean?" 2 years before Abuela died, Nina was struggling. She dropped out of college, was living with Carlos, had credit card debt even then. Rosa asked Nina what she'd do with inheritance money if she got some. She said she'd use it to pay off debt and start fresh. And Rosa thought that was irresponsible. She said Nina would just waste it. So, when Abuela died, Rosa took Nina's portion and put it in a trust that Nina couldn't access until she was 35, 6 more years from now. She told Nina that Abuela had left everything to me, that there was nothing for Rosa's side of the family, My mother's hands were shaking. Nina never knew. Rosa lied to her, told her that Abuela played favorites, that I got everything because I was the successful sister. I felt like I'd been punched. So when Nina saw me get help for my divorce, using money she thought was just yours, she thought it was inheritance she'd been denied. My mother finished. She's been angry about it for years. Rosa told me in confidence, made me promise not to tell you or Nina. She said it was for Nina's own good, that Nina needed to learn responsibility before getting money. But it wasn't Rosa's decision to make, I said, voicing my rage. Abuela left that money to Rosa to give to Nina, not to control her with. I know. I told Rosa that. We fought about it, but she's my sister and she asked me to keep the secret and My mother's voice broke. I chose her over honesty. I sat back stunned. Does this excuse what Nina did? No. But Mama, she thought the family betrayed her. She thought I got money she was denied. I know. And I'm so sorry, mija. This is partially my fault. I should have told you. Should have made Rosa tell Nina the truth. My phone buzzed. A text from Nina. Please, before you do anything, come to Tia Rosa's house. There's more you need to hear. I showed it to my mother. She closed her eyes. Rosa must have told her, finally. We're going over there, I said, standing. All of this ends today. No more secrets. 15 minutes later, my mother and I walked into Tia Rosa's living room. Nina sat on the couch, eyes red and swollen. Tia Rosa stood by the window, arms crossed, looking older than I'd ever seen her. Sophia, Tia Rosa said, I owe you an apology. You owe Nina an apology, I corrected. She's the one you lied to. Nina's head snapped up. You know? Mama just told me about the inheritance, about the trust. Nina's face crumpled. I found out yesterday. I was looking through Mom's files for something else and found the trust documents. $60,000 sitting there. Well, I've been drowning in debt for years, thinking Abuela didn't love me enough to leave me anything. Tia Rosa's voice was defensive. I was protecting you. You were irresponsible. You would have blown through that money in a year. That wasn't your choice to make, Nina shouted. It was my inheritance. Abuela wanted me to have it, and you hid it from me. You let me think I was worth less to this family than Sophia. That's not. It is. Do you know what that did to me? Watching Sophia get help for her divorce while I was losing my apartment? Watching her build a stable life while I couldn't even get approved for a phone plan? I thought you all chose her over me. I thought I was the failure no one wanted to invest in. Tia Rosa was crying now. I was wrong. I should have told you. But Nina, what you did to Sophia, stealing her identity, that's not something I caused. That was your choice. I know. Nina turned to me, tears streaming. I know, Sophia, and I'm not saying this excuses it, but when I found out you'd gotten money from Abuela and I hadn't, something broke in me. I convinced myself you didn't deserve your perfect credit and your stable life, that you'd gotten help I was denied. So I took it. I took what I thought should have been mine. But it wasn't yours, I said quietly. My credit, my name, those were mine. And even if the inheritance situation wasn't fair, you stole from me. Not from Tia Rosa, not from the family trust, from me. I know. God, I know. I've spent the last 24 hours realizing that I became exactly what Mom accused me of being. Irresponsible, destructive, selfish. I used my anger as an excuse to hurt you, and you didn't deserve that. My mother spoke up. Rosa, you need to give Nina access to that trust today. She'll just use it to run. She'll use it to pay back Sophia. I interrupted. Every cent. And then whatever's left is hers to do with as she chooses. That's what Abuela wanted. Tia Rosa looked at Nina. Is that what you want? To use the inheritance to fix this? Nina nodded. Yes, all of it. I don't care if there's nothing left. Sophia shouldn't suffer because of my anger at you. It won't be enough, I said. The debt is over $50,000, but it's a start. Nina pulled out her phone, pulled up a document. I've been applying for jobs all week, real jobs. I got an offer yesterday. Administrative assistant, $40,000 a year. I start Monday if I want it. I'll take it. I'll work 2 jobs if I have to. I'll pay back every single dollar, even if it takes years. I looked at her, really looked at her. The cousin I'd loved my whole life. The woman who'd betrayed me. The victim of a family secret that had poisoned her.
She nodded, sobbing. I'll do it. All of it. Thank you. Thank you, Sophia. Don't thank me. This isn't forgiveness. This is damage control. I turned to Tia Rosa. And you need to understand that your lie started this. You don't get to play the victim here. She nodded, unable to meet my eyes. My mother put her arm around me. Come on, mija. Let's go home. As we walked to the car, she squeezed my shoulder. You're handling this with more grace than I would. I'm not being graceful, I said. I'm being practical. If she goes to jail, I never get my money back. This way, at least there's a chance. And your relationship with Nina? I looked back at the house where my cousin, my sister, was probably still crying. I don't know, Mama. Maybe someday. But right now, I need distance. I need to rebuild my credit, my trust, my life. She broke something that might not ever be whole again. My mother nodded sadly. Family is complicated. Family is brutal, I corrected. When it's good, it's everything. When it's bad, it's the worst pain you'll ever feel. Over the next week, Nina and I met with lawyers, creditors, and a notary. She signed affidavits admitting to the fraud. Tia Rosa transferred the $60,000 to an account we controlled jointly, and we immediately paid off the largest debts. The rest would take time, years probably, but at least the bleeding had stopped. Nina started her new job, moved into a tiny studio apartment she could actually afford, enrolled in therapy twice a week. We didn't talk much, just logistics, payment confirmations, updates on credit disputes. It wasn't a relationship anymore. It was a transaction, and maybe that's all it could be now. The first payment confirmation arrived 3 weeks after our confrontation. Nina had deposited $800 into the joint account we'd set up specifically for restitution. It was from her first paycheck at the new job, roughly a third of her take-home pay. She'd included a note in the memo line, week 1, 63 more to go. I stared at that number. 63 weeks. Over a year of payments. And that was assuming she never missed one, never had an emergency, never faltered. And even then, it would only cover about half of what the inheritance hadn't. I forwarded the confirmation to my lawyer, who was helping me navigate the credit disputes. At least she's consistent so far, he said. That'll help if you need to go to court later. If. That word hung over everything now. The credit repair process was slower and more humiliating than I had imagined. Each creditor required mountains of paperwork, police reports I'd filed, notarized affidavits from Nina admitting fraud, copies of my actual ID, proof of my real address, employment verification. Some companies were cooperative. Others treated me like I was the criminal trying to dodge legitimate debt. One credit card company insisted I'd approved a third-party user and that the debt was still legally mine. It took 3 months in a lawyer's letter to get them to investigate properly. My credit score, which had been a respectable 720 before all this, had plummeted to 580. I got denied for a car loan I needed when my old Honda finally died. The apartment complex where I lived for 2 years ran a routine credit check for lease renewal and nearly refused to renew because of the derogatory marks. I had to bring my landlord the legal documentation, sit in his office while he read through police reports about my own cousin, and essentially beg to keep my home. I'm the victim here, I kept having to explain over and over to bankers, to landlords, to the HR department at work when they ran a background check for my promotion. Being a victim of identity theft felt like being punished for someone else's crime. Nina kept her word about the payments. Every 2 weeks, like clockwork, money appeared in my account. $800. Sometimes $850 if she'd picked up overtime or a freelance design project on the side. We didn't talk much, just logistics, payment confirmations, updates on credit disputes. It wasn't a relationship anymore. It was a transaction, and maybe that's all it could be now. My mother tried to bridge the gap a few times. "Nina asks about you," she'd say during our Sunday calls. "She wants to know if you're okay. She can ask me herself. Mija, she's trying. She's changed jobs. She's in therapy. She's paying you back. At some point, don't you think, Mama, I'm not ready." And I wasn't. Every time I thought of softening, I'd get another collections call for an account I was still disputing, or I'd check my credit report and see my score hadn't budged, or I'd remember the feeling of discovering that my own cousin had spent 2 years pretending to be me while pretending to be my friend. The betrayal was too big, the wound too fresh. 6 months in, Tia Rosa called me. We hadn't spoken since that awful day in her living room. "Sophia, I need to apologize to you properly, not just for Nina, but for myself." I stayed quiet, letting her continue. "I thought I was protecting Nina from herself. I thought keeping the inheritance from her would teach her responsibility, but all I did was teach her that her family didn't trust her, that she wasn't worthy. I created the anger that she used to justify those choices, and you paid the price for my mistake. Tia, Nina's an adult. She made her own choices. I know, but I gave her the anger that she used to justify those choices, and you paid the price for my mistake." I sighed. "I appreciate you saying that, but it doesn't change what happened. I know. I needed you to hear it from me. You deserved better from this family." After we hung up, I cried. Not from forgiveness, but from exhaustion. I was so tired of carrying this weight, the anger, the betrayal, the complicated mess of loving someone who'd hurt me and understanding why without excusing it. Around the 8th month, Nina asked if we could meet in person. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she texted. "I just want to show you something, please." Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a neutral coffee shop, the kind with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. She looked different, thinner, but in a healthier way, like someone who'd been working too hard but sleeping better. Her clothes were simple, no longer the bohemian style she used to favor. She looked tired, but clear-eyed. "Thank you for coming," she said. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak yet. She pulled out her phone, opened a spreadsheet. "I've been tracking everything, every payment I've made, every creditor we've paid off. I thought you'd want to see the progress." I looked at the screen. It was meticulous, color-coded, organized by account, with running balances and projected payoff dates. We've paid off 3 accounts completely. 4 more are below half of what they were. At my current rate, everything will be paid in full in 18 months. "That's good," I said quietly. She pulled out a folder. "I've been working with my therapist on this. It's a letter, I've written you about 50 versions, but she helped me get it right. You don't have to read it now, or ever, but I wanted you to have it. I took the envelope, didn't open it, just held it. How are you? Really? The question surprised me. I'd expected more apologies, more explanations, more attempts to fix what she'd broken, but she was just asking about me.
Honestly, I'm tired, I admitted. My credit's slowly recovering, but it's still a mess. I had to get a co-signer for my car loan. My own mother had to co-sign because my cousin destroyed my credit. That's humiliating. Nina flinched. I know. I'm so sorry. You keep saying that, but sorry doesn't unruin my credit score. Sorry doesn't give me back the 2 years I thought we were close while you were robbing me. I know. That's why I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just trying to show you that I'm different now, that I'm doing the work. For me or for you? She paused, then answered honestly. Both. I need to be better for myself, but I also need to prove to you that I'm worth a second chance, even if that chance never comes. We sat in silence for a moment. I miss you, she said quietly. I miss my best friend. I know I don't deserve to have you back in my life, but I miss you every day. I miss you too, I admitted, but I don't miss who you were when you were stealing from me. I miss who I thought you were, and I don't know if that person ever really existed. She did. She does. She was just buried under a lot of pain and bad choices. I'm trying to find her again. I didn't read Nina's letter until I got home that night. When I finally opened it, I found 10 pages of handwritten honesty. She detailed everything, not just the mechanics of the fraud, but the emotional journey, how the resentment about the inheritance had festered, how she'd convinced herself I owed her, how each fraudulent account felt like evening a score rather than stealing. She wrote about the shame spiral, how once she started, stopping felt impossible because it would mean admitting what she'd done, how she'd compartmentalized, telling herself the real Nina was the cousin who called me crying, while the other Nina, who opened credit cards in my name, was just surviving. She wrote about rock bottom, finding the trust documents, realizing her mother had lied, and then realizing that even if the lie was wrong, it didn't justify what Nina had done. I spent 8 years angry at a betrayal that hurt me. Then I spent 2 years committing a betrayal that hurt you worse. I became what I hated, and I have to live with that. The letter ended simply. I don't expect you to ever trust me again. I don't expect us to be best friends again. I just want you to know that I see what I did. All of it. And I'm spending the rest of my life trying to be someone who would never do that to anyone. I hope that's enough. Love, Nina. I folded the letter carefully and put it in my desk drawer. Not to forget it, but to keep it. Evidence that people could change, even if the relationship couldn't be restored. A year after the confrontation, my credit score finally broke 650. It was still lower than before, still climbing slowly, but it was improvement. Tangible, measurable improvement. The same week, Nina made her final payment from the inheritance portion. The remaining debt was now small enough that her regular payments would finish it off in another 10 months. She texted, "Last of Abuela's money just went through. From here on out, it's all my own earnings. Thank you for letting me make this right." I replied, "You're doing the right thing. Keep going." We'd started talking more by then, not like before. We'd never be like before, but we'd text occasionally about non-payment things. She'd send me a design she'd made. I'd share a funny story from work. It was tentative, careful, like two people learning to be acquaintances after being sisters. My mother was relieved. "I'm so glad you two are talking again," she said. "We're not talking again, Mama. We're just not silent anymore." That's a start. Maybe it was. Maybe that was all it would ever be. And maybe that was okay. Tia Rosa and my mother's relationship had also shifted. The secret about the inheritance had created a rift between the sisters that mirrored the one between Nina and I. They still saw each other at family gatherings, still spoke on the phone, but the easy closeness was gone. They were sisters by blood, but not by trust. Not anymore. Some things break, my mother told me one night, and you can glue them back together, but they're never quite the same shape. She was right. We were all different shapes now. The family that existed before that first collections notice was gone. In its place was something more honest, more careful, more scarred. 18 months after everything fell apart, Nina made her final payment. She'd paid back every single dollar. $52,943, plus interest she'd insisted on adding. The joint account hit zero balance, and I closed it the same day. Nina called me that evening. "It's done. I just wanted you to hear it from me." I saw. "Thank you for following through. Can I ask you something?" "Okay." Do you think someday we could try not to go back to what we were, but to build something new? Like, maybe we could have coffee once a month or something. No pressure. Just trying." I thought about it. About the sister I'd lost, and the stranger who'd hurt me, and the woman who'd spent 18 months proving she could change. "Yeah," I said finally. "We can try. But Nina, if you ever lie to me again, I won't. I swear on everything, Sophia, I won't." "Okay, then let's try."
That was 3 years ago. I'm sitting at a coffee shop right now, the same one where Nina and I met when she showed me her payment spreadsheet. It's become our spot, neutral ground where we meet once a month, sometimes twice if one of us needs to talk. She just texted that she's running 5 minutes late. Traffic. I smile, because the old Nina would have been 20 minutes late with a dramatic story. The new Nina texts when she's running behind. Small things, but they matter. My credit score is 710 now, not quite where it was before, but close enough that I qualified for a mortgage last year. I bought a small house, 2 bedrooms, a yard, a porch where I drink coffee on Sunday mornings. Nina helped me move in, brought boxes, assembled furniture, didn't ask to borrow money even once. When she left that night, she hugged me and whispered, "I'm so proud of you." It was the first time in years that a hug from her didn't make me stiffen. Our relationship is different now. We're not best friends. We're not sisters the way we used to be, but we're something. Family who've survived each other, maybe. People who share history and DNA and hard-earned understanding. She's still in therapy, still working the same administrative job, though she got promoted to office manager last year. Still designing on the side, but now she saves the money instead of spending it before she earns it. She's dating someone new, a teacher named Marcus who doesn't know about the identity theft. She asked me recently if she should tell him. If it gets serious, yes, I said. He deserves to know who he's building a life with, all of who you are, including the parts you're not proud of. What if he leaves? Then he wasn't the right person. But Nina, you can't build something real on secrets. We learned that the hard way. She nodded, understanding. Tia Rosa and my mother are still working on their relationship too. They have dinner together every other week now, trying to rebuild what the lies damaged. It's awkward sometimes, but they're trying. Rosa set up college funds for both Nina and Mai last year, her way of trying to make amends. Nina's she can't touch. Mine I could, but I haven't. I told Rosa to donate it to a financial literacy program instead. I don't need the money, I said, but other people need to learn what I learned the hard way, that money and family make a dangerous combination without boundaries. I think about trust a lot these days, how fragile it is, how long it takes to build and how quickly it shatters, how some people earn it back and others never do. Nina earned hers back. Not all of it, maybe never all of it, but enough that when she texts me about something in her life, I don't immediately wonder if she's lying. Enough that when she asks to borrow my phone charger, I hand it over without counting my credit cards afterward. It's not the blind trust we had before. It's the careful trust that comes after betrayal.
the kind you choose daily instead of assuming automatically. Last month, we went to Abuela's grave together for the first time since everything happened. We brought flowers, sat on the grass, and talked about what the inheritance money had meant. She wanted to help us, Nina said, and in the weirdest, most painful way possible, she did. The money paid for my mistakes. It taught me accountability. It taught both of us what we're really made of. You think Abuela would be proud of how this turned out? I asked. Nina considered it. I think she'd be sad it had to happen this way, but yeah, maybe proud that we survived it. We sat there until the sun started setting, two cousins who'd been sisters, then strangers, and now something in between. Proof that family can break and still find a way back to each other, even if the shape is different. The coffee shop door opens. Nina walks in, sees me, waves. She's carrying a folder, probably designs she wants to show me. She does that now, shares her work, asks my opinion, small gestures of trust rebuilding. She sits down, orders her usual oat milk latte, and pulls out her portfolio. Okay, so I'm thinking of pitching this series to a nonprofit, she says, eyes bright with the creativity that's always been her gift when she channels it right. What do you think? And for the next hour, we talk like family, like people who hurt each other and healed, like proof that sometimes the hardest stories have the most honest endings. I don't know if we'll ever be best friends again. I don't know if I'll ever forget what she did or fully trust her with the vulnerable parts of myself, but I know this. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing, every day, to let someone try again. And today, I choose to let her try. That's enough. It has to be. Because family, the real kind, the kind that survives betrayal, isn't built on perfection. It's built on honesty, accountability, and the quiet courage to keep showing up even after everything falls apart. Nina's still talking, gesturing at her designs, and I'm listening, and the coffee is good, and the afternoon light is soft, and this imperfect, hard-won piece feels like the truest thing we've ever shared.